You'll notice that buttons are often repeated on the Transform tab and the Add Column tab. Now the reason for that is if you have a column selected, you may want to transform how it appears. But if you want to add a column, you go to the Add Column tab, and so any transformation you make will become a new column. I want to have a look at the button's date, time, duration, and even format that exists in the Add Column and in the Transform tabs. Let's start first of all with the Sales 2019 to 2021 query. And I'd like to delete some of the steps that we have here. In fact, I want to delete step 4, delete step 3, delete step 2, and delete step 1, which was to replace a lot of the values. Now, looking at the brand column, if I give that a click, we noticed earlier that there was 2 instances of Fabricam and 2 instances of Litwear in an earlier video. And the reason for that was some records are Litwear Space and some of them are just Litwear. We use the Replace Values button up here on the Transform tab to replace Litwear Space with Litwear. But I want to show you there's actually another option that's probably better. When you've got a column selected, if you go to Transform, it will actually transform this column, not create a new one. And I want to have a look at the Format option. What the Format option gives you is the option Trim. And what Trim does is if I rest on it, it removes any leading or trailing spaces. So it will get rid of any spaces after your Litwear or your Fabricam. And how that differs from Clean is Clean removes any non-printable characters. Sometimes carriage returns and tabs and line feeds come through with your data, and Clean would get rid of those. But I want to trim, so I'm going to click the Trim option. As soon as I do that, if I hit this drop down now, you'll see there's only 1 instance of Fabricam and 1 instance of Litwear. So it naturally removed any spaces that were following those brand names. That's really good. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to remove all instances of the word limited in the brand column. Not every brand has got limited after it, but some of them have, and I want to remove those. So I'm going to go to Replace Values, and I'm going to say Replace Space Limited with nothing. If you need to delete data, then don't put anything in the Replace With. And you can basically say find all instances of something and replace it with nothing, which is effectively deleting it. So I'm going to go OK, and all instances of Space Limited are automatically removed from the brand. Now instead what I want to do is I want to have limited after every single brand. So I want to add a suffix, not a prefix which comes before, but a suffix which comes after every entry. So if you go to Format, what you can find is you can add a suffix or a prefix. Let's go for suffix, and I want to add the suffix Space Limited. And that will effectively put at the end of every value in that column, Space Limited. So the Format button gives you some quite good and quite interesting options: add prefix, add suffix, clean, and trim. Now the other thing I might want to do is I might want to format all my brands to uppercase. So looking in that Format button again, you have lowercase, uppercase, or capitalize each word. So I'm going to go for the uppercase option. So you can automatically transform any text in terms of case as well, which is very, very handy. Now let's have a look at the Orders 1997 to 2000 query. It has a date column here. And what I really want to do is show you how you can use these date, time, and duration buttons. Now I don't want to transform, in other words, replace and change this column. I want to add a column. I want to add a column using the date button. I want to add a column that shows me the year. Now I can ask for the start of year or the end of year, but I just want the year itself. And so when I click this, at the very end of my table on the far right hand side, it's inserted a column that has extracted the year from that date. Now I want to move this and put this towards the beginning of the table, so I'm just going to go to Transform and I'm going to go to Move, and I'm going to move it to the beginning. And then I'll just drag it and put it after date. So there's the year extracted from the date, simply by going to Add Column and using the Date button. Let's look at it further. I'll select the Date column again, and I want to go to the date, and I want to extract the month. Now I can extract The month is a number. I can extract a date, that is the start of the month, the end of that month, the number of days in that month, or the actual name of that month. So some really interesting things that you can have a look at, and just delete the query step every time while you're playing and having a look at different options. I'm just going to go for the name of the month. And so at the very end of my table, if I scroll to the right hand side, will be a column called month name. I want to select that column and I want to go to transform and move that column to the beginning, and then I'll just drag it and put it to the right of year. So using the date button, I've created a year column and a month name column. I'd also like a day name column, so I click on year, I go to add column, I go to date, and I want a day, and I'll have the name of a day. When I click on that option, the very far right hand side is my day name. I'll select it, I'll go to transform, and I'll move it to the beginning, and then I'll drag it so that it's after my month. So have a look at the date function, it's really, really good. But just one more example of the date function. I'm going to go to the employees query. In the employees query, I have a birth date column. And really I want to add a column that shows me the age of each employee. So if I select this particular column, what I can do is go to add column, and I can go to extract, and from, I can go to date, and I want to choose age. When I choose age, I have created this column at the far right side. I want to move it, so I'm going to go to transform, and I'm going to go move, and I'm going to go to beginning, and then I'll just drag and place it after the birth date. But now I want to show this data type as a whole number. So I'm going to click this particular age, or I could go actually to duration and actually say, show me just the total years, and now it's showing me the total years. Having now showed the total years, I'll change it to a whole number. And so now I'm seeing those employees' ages. And yeah, and so that's having a look at some of those buttons.